78.6 FM, positive vibes of Winsome. It is a rainy day here in Okinawa, Japan. But however, even as I look at where the clouds are starting to come and separate themselves right now, I know it's going to be a beautiful day today. 78.6 positive vibes. Hey, check this out. I would rather be nowhere else than right here with you at 10 a.m. this morning here in Okinawa. Been a long week. I never complain about weeks, right? Because I'm blessed that we made it through. I'm blessed to have the team that I have. I'm blessed to have the family and support system and encouragement around me here in this island to get things done. It seems like when you think it's going to be an easy week, right, is when it always ends up being one of the busiest weeks ever. Every day this week, I believe I was up at 4:30 in the morning. And getting home, I just crashed, right? It was one of those feed the dog, shower, eat, sleep. I know it was to be expected because I'm going into meetings in the morning. And if you're familiar with the time difference here, right? So when I'm waking up in the morning is usually as the United States, their afternoons are coming to a close, going into the evening. So the earlier I wake up, the earlier in the afternoon it is for the U.S. So for Zoom meetings, team meetings, interviews, discussions with authors, talking about courses, even personal, like my career or records, right, to discuss with the folks in the U.S. who manage those things. You have to get up early to make sure that these things are actually getting looked at, done, those conversations are being had, and you're taking care of yourself. I was telling a friend yesterday, we launched a couple of really cool things we're going to talk about in a second. But I was telling a friend yesterday, I said, I really like getting up earlier, right? It's one of the things that they talk about in emotional intelligence habits is wake up early. I love it because if I'm waking up on an average of 2 hours earlier than everybody else showing up to work, right? I got 10 hours on everybody at the end of the week. I'm doing the math, 2 times 5 days. I'm in 2 hours early, 10 hours ahead, right at the end of the week. And the cool thing about that is so much gets done when you're in your own mental space. Nobody's there to distract you. It's focused on whatever you have. And I always walk in with a list. If you're looking at me now, I'm holding up my book, right? I walk in with a list of things I need to knock out. And to be able to get to the end of the week and realize that you accomplished everything on your list in itself is a gift. It's exciting, right? It's just like, wow, it's like very freeing. And it's a relief. So I really had a busy week, but I want to say an accomplished week. So that's such a blessing to me, and I really appreciate anybody who had a part in helping me get to the end of this week, which leads me to today. Hello, everyone. 78.6 FM, positive vibes of Winsome. We're coming up on the end of 2023. So if this is someone listening to this segment years later, we're in December of 2023. It's decorations behind me. Really cool setup here at the station. One of our teammates here. It's nothing but smiles this morning. And no matter what it looks like outside, it's what the joy that you bring and what's inside, right? Had an opportunity yesterday to talk to one of my favorite teams. We'll talk about that in a minute. A lot of crazy things going on with me, potential things. Talk about that shortly. But we'll start off with saying thank you. Got some news, and forgive me, my teammate Lauren. Sorry, yesterday, this week has been crazy. I didn't get a chance to check on what we discussed. But sending a shout out to our teammates at 2RL, Two Roads Leadership. Of course, Free Period Press, Trainers Warehouse. Thank you guys so much for everything you've been doing. I don't want to forget, right? It's everything that the Trainers Warehouse, Free Period Press, Two Roads, you guys have been, I couldn't have done any of these things this past week without your support, trust, encouragement, and thank you so much, and for the things to come. So I guess I'll start here with that, Two Roads Leadership, getting ready for a couple of events starting the new year, creating some new coaches, folks to come out and help take care of the people in this region, on this island that are seeking coaching and hopefully create some new leaders, right? One of those goals that we all have if we're trying to be good at what we do is I don't want to create followers, I want to create leaders, right? So that's one of the things that is such a blessing, such a wonderful thing to be a part of, is watching others grow. Shout out to folks who we recently found out, those friends and family who got promoted. A lot of folks in the job that I do in the day job, right? The United States Air Force folks recently got promoted to chief. Step promotion just happened. Shout out to little brother Khalif Richardson, right? So many wonderful things happen. Even though it's busy, even though we've had a busy week, it's still a lot of beauty, right? When you stop, pause, reflect, and look at all the things that are going on around you. I'm seeing people winning, right? My teammate Joe Grossi just recently found out he's going to be competing at the Pacific Air Force level for the Billy Bowles Mentorship Award. I was telling him yesterday, man, I said, no matter what, no matter how it finishes out, your package is representing everything that we've done for the past year and a half as a team. So we're proud of you. We're backing you. When you win, we win, right? So that's happening. So many people that have been a part of our lives for the past 2 years have just been significantly doing great things and winning around this island and in their careers and in their lives. So I'm really excited to see what's happening for others. And I think you take a step back, and a lot of people were probably like, okay, but what about you? What are you doing? That to me is what gives me energy, what gives me joy. And that's my heart and the way my brain processes it, right? I see people I care about and people who I've been a part of their story winning. I see people moving towards the vision that they've had or making those visions come true, and knowing that they trusted me with a little piece of it, even if it was just a small piece or a big piece, that they trusted me to be a part of their story to help them reach those goals or visions or victories. It's such a blessing to be a part of that. And I'm so excited to know that moving into 2024, that people who I trust, care about, and have around me are actually doing great things and winning in their lives. And trust me, we're part of those stories. So for all of those people doing great things out there, winning and allowing me to be a part of those stories, thank you. Also, thank you for trusting me when, even though you might be winning, right? The whole time, the story wasn't always about winning. You had to fight, you had to claw, you had to scratch, you had to climb, you had to run at some points. But you trusted me to be a part of that journey as well. Not just the victory, but the story leading to the victory. The whole step, first from the first step, and asking and inquiring. I was thinking this week when I was reflecting, and I if you guys don't know me, I do that like every day. I got to take time, even when I'm about to crash. I told you guys at night, I try to write down a few things, just some reflection, or really take time to think about, what went well, what went wrong, what do I need to do tomorrow, how can I be better than I was today. And a lot of times I sat back and I was like, am I present? It's one of the questions I've been asking. And it's not about am I present in physical presence, right? Because my job is one of those to where even when I'm not in my office, I am somewhere on this island or on this base teaching, coaching, mentoring, facilitating. So I'm always present somewhere. But it's what is my presence when I walk in? What is the presence that I have on this island? What is the story that I'm telling? What is the story? Not just am I telling everyone else around me, but what is the story I'm telling myself when I'm looking back 5 years from now? Am I doing what I am called to do? Am I living in my purpose? Am I living purposefully? And a lot of people, they navigate life, but they don't ask those questions to themselves. Ask those questions to themselves. Am I living purposefully? And if you ask yourself that question, if you really peel the onion back and look at how you're navigating your days, how you're navigating your life, how you're navigating relationships, how you're navigating conversations, are you adding value, or are you just taking up space in those scenarios? And the goal is to always add value, or at least try to, right? And so I walk into a lot of these conversations with that mindset of how can I add value to what this person is coming to me with? How can I make sure that when they walk away, they can apply what we just discussed? How can I? You hear what I'm saying? And another question is, what is this person really asking? And one of my favorite things to ask when someone comes into my office or when someone calls me or texts me is, are you asking for advice or do you want me to listen? And don't text me if you're just trying to want me to listen. That means you got to call me. You got to pick up the phone. You got to say some words so I can just be there. I got to be present. If you want me to be present, pick up the phone and call, right? So we deal with a lot of these things, and part of the reflection for me is asking myself those powerful questions. And am I doing those things? Am I living purposefully? Because if my purpose is people, my passion is people, my drive is taking care of others. That's what drives me, motivates me, inspires me. My tagline is educate, encourage, and inspire. Am I doing these things on a daily basis? And so I start there, right? And then I also got to take a second to relax, peel back, sit back, and think, am I taking care of me? And it's one of the hardest things for me to do, because when you're built and you're focused on others, pausing, time out, putting the knee down and saying, hey, wait a minute, you matter too, right? You matter too. And that's difficult for some people who are in this position of care, when you have the duty of care, because you think the duty of care is about caring for everyone else. Yeah, that's what we're built for, right? That's our purpose. But we can't do that. We can't care for others if we're not caring for ourselves as well. So I'm using a very easy language when I'm saying this, but the purpose is, or the goal of today is to speak on, how are you doing those things? Are you living purposefully? Are you living in your purpose, your reason, your why, right? Number 2, are you taking care of yourself? And we're talking about that during today's segment. I'll probably break that up into the second and third segment. I'll talk about some of the wonderful things that have been happening the last couple of weeks. So we launched in collaboration with Dr. Travis Bradbury. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, sir, for the call, the text, the messaging, the videos, everything leading into this book that we got on 27. Now, I pre-ordered this. If you guys don't know me, huge EQ advocate, right? Emotional intelligence. I remember years ago that conversation. Are we going to implement that in what we do in our careers, right, and in our lives? And then to see it launched by our career, our job says EQ is so important. Cool, wonderful, great. What are we doing with it, right? So now we're being graded on it in our jobs. It's part of our report card, if you will. And so with that being said, reaching out to the author, the team that actually writes the book on this, EQ 2.0, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, Emotional Intelligence for Teams. And then most recently is Emotional Intelligence Habits. So putting these things together and building that, right? I'll be honest with you. Building this discussion, this seminar for people on base, I wasn't trying to do it alone. I realized that, to be 100% honest, I knew going into this project, this vision, and this goal, and it's the same, if you will, it's an old adage, and I always think about these things. Alone we go fast, but together we go far. And I said, if I'm going to do this for this community, how can I do it and make it impactful, meaningful, and to where they can walk out and apply the concepts? So part of one of my classes, some of my classmates were really passionate about EQ, and I reached out to them, right? And I said, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what my vision. Can you help? Can you support? I think it was 10 people I emailed. 3 of them hit back immediately and said, we got you. Another person I reached out to, or hit up, of course, was Dr. Womack, J.W. Womack. And I'll talk more about that when we come back from the break. But between Dr. Bradbury, Dr. Womack, and my teammates that provided messages, man, it was such an amazing experience. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive, and I knew we had something. That's one of those things that when you know you have something, it's magical. You just sense it, you feel it, and it's not about just what you're feeling, but you're seeing it in other people's faces. 78.6 FM, Positive Vibes at Winsome. I'll talk to you more about that experience when we come back from this break. See you in a sec. 78.6 FM, positive vibes of Winsome. So before the break, before we left out of here, I was talking to you guys about some of the classes that we launched. One of the most important ones to me coming out of the break, and forgive me, I just want to make sure I don't forget this note going into this. But going into this break, the holiday break, one of my goals before the end of the year was to launch discussions and a seminar on the book, Emotional Intelligence Habits, right? So if you haven't read EQ Habits yet, it's an amazing read. I'll say this. I don't say this a lot, right? I really, when I'm talking about books, making recommendations, let me rephrase that. When I am making recommendations on books, right? Getting my focus back. When I am making recommendations on books, I'm very careful because I know that a lot of people, when they seek recommendations because they're trying to grow, they're trying to feed their brain, they're trying to make sure that they're stronger, better, and have some guidance on something that they're interested in moving forward, right? They're internalizing the information and they're utilizing it where they can. For us, we read these books, we break down the concepts, we study them, and reach out to the authors. It's very important to us to make sure that if we're going to have these discussions, that we're not just having discussions on our own perspective or just what we pulled from it. We want to make sure it's actually what the person that wrote the words and what is the word? What they intended, right? So I really make it a big point or make it a huge point to go into these discussions, go into these lessons that we build with care. And if I'm able to reach out to the individual who created the concepts, developed them, or did the research to present them, I want to make sure that we are delivering it the same way. I've been blessed to have a team for the launch of Emotional Intelligence Habits, which I can't tell you how much that warmed my entire heart. So if I haven't done it, I know I had dropped this on LinkedIn. I'm going to tell you guys, I very rarely post on LinkedIn. Facebook is for family. I post everything on Facebook. This is what made me smile this week, right? And I don't post all the time, but when I do, it's something that really meant a lot to me. And so going on LinkedIn is completely different, right? LinkedIn is where you have all these business people watching your moves. That's really for my next chapter, right? These are folks who are out there in the industry doing these things that I'm doing right here on Okinawa. Now I'm reaching out to people via LinkedIn, but I don't post like some people do on there because I know that's not the format for what I'm trying to communicate. Mine is just what's bringing me joy, right? I'm not trying to educate, encourage, and inspire anybody on LinkedIn. So I had posted about this out there, but I pulled it back. And I was like, it's not personal just to post it out there. It's a business move, but I'm not trying to make a business move. I really want to come out here and say thank you to the people who were part of making that vision a reality. I want to say thank you to the people who raised their hand immediately and said, hey, Winsome, we got you. Say less. So when I had the vision of dropping Emotional Intelligence Habits, like I told you, my first thing was I'm not going to do it alone. I want this to be impactful. I want this to be something special. And I want to put a team together that's going to deliver messages that it'll resonate with people and they can walk out and apply these concepts immediately. So Dr. Travis Bradbury, thank you so much for your support, encouragement, message. That really meant a lot to me. I can't tell you how special that was. And a lot of people who are doing these things don't realize how when the person who writes the book supports what you're doing, that's just the most incredible feeling in the world. And you trust me to deliver the message and have those discussions on your behalf. So thank you for letting me, pour my ideas out there to you. And thank you for supporting, encouraging, and having our back. Dr. Jason Womack, your message as well. Thank you so much. And I'm going to tell you guys, I had never met Dr. Womack, right? We're both in a similar service. I'm Air Force. He's Space Force. He's taught at the Leadership Development course. Dr. Womack, I had never met him, but as soon as I said his name, and this is when you know somebody has a powerful presence and story, as soon as I said his name, people that I respect, people who I value their opinions and their thought processes, they immediately email me, text me, and say, "Hey, is JW coming out here?" And I was heartbroken. I was like, "No, he's not coming this time, right? We're gonna plan for next year for him to come in person." But he sent us a message, and we're gonna be able to get him live for the first session. And that's exactly what we did, right? So he came on, Dr. J.W. Womack. I'm gonna tell you, from the moment that we spoke for the first time over the phone, your energy is unmatched. I think when I'm out in public and showing love that I have a lot of energy, your energy is inspirational. He says something to you guys, you'll catch it when you talk to him for the first time. "I love you." And I'm like, dude, first, I'm the one that says you are loved and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Y'all hear me say that all the time at the end of this show. But to have someone that you've never met before pop in and say, "I love you. Thank you for having me." And I was like, yo, this dude uses the L word like I do. This is my guy. And if you guys don't know where I derive that from, that's from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King when he talks about agape love. He breaks down how important it is to love people for who they are, the creation that they are, the person that they are, the blessing that each and every one of us are. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. That's where I derive the inspiration for my message at the back end, that you are loved and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And so to have Dr. J.W. Jason Womack say on the phone for the very first time we're video chatting, "Hey man, I love you and I'll see you in a few minutes," or "I'll see you in a couple hours," or "I'll see you tomorrow," whatever it was, I was like, I like this guy. And to get the instant confirmation when I put the message out to the entire island, "Hey guys, Dr. J-Dub is going to drop a message for us. If you got a chance, come on in." And he did something wonderful. He surprised everybody, right? Because the first segment, the first discussion that we had, they're all 2 hours each. We did an 8 to 10, we did a 10 to 12, or 11 to 1, and we did a 2 to 4. And when he came on, it was a video recording. And it was Dr. J-Dub, and he was talking, and he was breaking down EQ and its importance, its usage. And then at the end, we had folks, this is his idea, not mine. I'm creative, but he had a wonderful idea. He said, "Hey, man, I want you to tell everybody at the end of the message, write down any questions they have for me, and let's surprise them. Have them hold up, let you know that they're done writing down their questions for me or inputs, whatever they have, comments. And then I'll pop up on Zoom and be like, haha, I'm here." It was the coolest idea. So after we got done with his video, everybody held up their questions. I was going to collect them, but instead they held them up and we pushed the button, and there is Dr. J-Dub. And he's live and he's talking to folks for a few more minutes, sharing the love for us before we rolled into our launch of emotional intelligence habits discussions. And it's Dr. Womack. I just want to tell you, man, you are unmatched in my book. You are what I aspire to be when it comes to energy, presentation, development, teaching, educating, encouraging, and inspiring. Thank you for showing me what it looks like on the other side. And thank you for reminding me why I'm doing this. You may not realize it, but that little time we had together, putting this together, meant the world to me. So I just want to tell you thank you on behalf of me, myself, my team, and everyone involved with launching Emotional Intelligence Habits last week. I couldn't ask for a better teammate and a collaborator. Thank you. Also, I want to make sure I don't forget the teammates who also provided messages, had my back immediately when I asked. Miss Diana Chabonneau, I want to make sure I'm saying your name right? Diana in Arizona, you are amazing. I never had to ask twice. You were the first one to hit me up every time. I'm so blessed that we are now connected and to be a part of each other's story. I'm so proud of what you're doing out there. I see you on LinkedIn doing wonderful things. I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you. Really do. Miss Kay Aiken, thank you so much for the message. My apologies. I had the message, y'all. She sent it to me. I'm at work when I'm looking at the videos. I go home to download it, but the videos are connected to my government email, so I couldn't. I had to hit Kay up. Kay, oh my gosh, it's tomorrow morning. I'm doing the downloads. Help me. Miss Kay, thank you so much for taking the time to create the videos for us, or video for us, the message. I really appreciate your time, energy, and you are wonderful. I look forward to working with you again in the future as well. Miss Shonda Barr, thank you so much for your self-awareness message. I really appreciate you taking that time to make sure our folks got an understanding of exactly what that is, what it looks like, what it sounds like, and how to have that presence when you know yourself. You guys don't understand how important. But you may have thought that 3 minutes was not a big deal. But 3 minutes leading into these discussions meant the world to me. You had people's minds working, you had people's brains moving, and everyone involved from the moment. I don't kill with videos. I don't overwhelm people with videos. I don't overwhelm people with slides. I understand that a lot of it is the information and how you deliver it. And if you're making sure that you know the different types of learning that's going on in the room, right? How to address everyone in the room, how to read the room, and how to present it. It worked perfectly. It was beautiful. It was spectacular. So if you didn't know, you couldn't see the video, I'll resend it via email to those folks I just mentioned. I just want to say thank you. And if you didn't hear from me, or if the email didn't resonate with you, see it from me here, live, 78.6 FM, Positive Vibes of Winsome. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you that I mentioned. And I'll go over that list one more time because it meant the world to me. Dr. Travis Bradbury, Dr. Jason Womack, Ms. Diana Charbonneau, Ms. Shonda Barr, and Ms. Kay Aiken. Thank you guys so much for your support and your love in helping me launch Emotional Intelligence Habits here in Okinawa and for our teammates on Kadena Air Base. It's a great start. Joe Gross, my brother, Master Sergeant type in the daytime, right? Joseph T. Gross, thank you, man, for getting us with the overview. So, guys, I hit my man the day of. He wasn't even coming in. He had a headache. He showed up anyway, right? But I hit him up day of, and I was like, hey, man, how about we do it this way? So it was meant to be a 20, 30-minute overview of EQ. But my dude was just as passionate about EQ as I am. So his 20 minutes turned into an hour and 15, right? We adjusted. I love you, man. And it was hilarious because I didn't say nothing. You in your groove. I even kept giving them the signs, like the chokehold sign. Hey, dude, it's over. I didn't have the cane to yank him off stage. But he did a phenomenal job of connecting everyone to EQ before we rolled in and pivoted with EQ habits. So, Joe, if you're out there listening, man, thank you so much for taking the time, man, to support the love, shared vision, and everybody else that I mentioned in this, to include Tech Sergeant Belen Rico. I almost forgot you for taking time out of your day to come out and help me co-facilitate. I love you guys. Thank you. We'll be back right after this break. .6 FM, Positive Vibes of Winston. We are back. I was just talking about launching emotional intelligence habits last week. One of the highlights of my year. I've been waiting since the book dropped on 27 August to launch that class or discussions, right? And 3 discussions back to back to back. So with that team I mentioned recently, we put the message together. I developed the slides. I was harassing Dr. Bradbury, to making sure that I was on point, staying on mark, making sure that I didn't miss the mark anywhere. I can't tell you how wonderful it feels to see how it processes. And I'll say, not to see how it processes. I can't tell you how amazing it felt to see it happening. One of the videos that we played, and also directly from the book Emotional Intelligence Habits, is from the lady who actually spent time with individuals who were on their last breaths. And the questions that she was asking these folks, right, is basically, what are your regrets? If you can do it all over again, what would you do differently? And imagine that question. If you can do it all over again, what would you do differently? I didn't memorize all of them. I didn't write them down. You guys know I stay unscripted. I was trying to get to the video real quick. But I tell you, the ones I do remember specifically right out the back is, I wish I had spent more time with friends. I wish I had, basically, long story short, I wish I had not worked so hard. I wish I had lived a life of genuine happiness. The things that they said, it was 5 different ones that I hit the course with, the class with, all the registered attendees. And I said, these are things that not just one person, 2 people, but the folks she spent time with and collected this journal, her memoirs about the stories that these people in their last breath said. It really hits you hard, right? When you start thinking of, man, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. You hear that? It's like the opposite of what our generation has been taught our entire lives about hard work, right? I always try to counter what I've heard, like some motivational speakers say things like, there ain't no time for sleep, ain't no time for rest. I promise you, if you guys listen to motivational speakers over the years, and now, of course, everybody's coming down to the, hey, hold up, you got to build rest and self-care in there, right? But it was years of, sleep is for people who ain't trying to work hard, or ain't trying to climb, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you hear it all the time. And the seed that was planting is that building in rest and resting is a bad thing. Taking time for yourself is not good. This is literally what was being promoted. Like, it was pushing. Like, there was a motivational speaker I'll never forget. He was asking his, how you have your handlers go to these shows. I'll never forget this. Handlers go to the show, and he's like, hey, man, what did I do as soon as I got here? And the guy was like, you went to the gym. I ain't gonna say names. He was like, that's right, because there ain't no rest. I landed in a different time zone. And I was like, bruh, come on, man. I've traveled a lot. And I'll tell you, the first thing that I want to do when I travel is rest. First of all, jet lag, especially if I got to teach the next day or the next couple of days. So it was unrealistic expectations that a lot was being put. There were a lot of unreasonable expectations being put into the universe. It made no sense. So every opportunity I had, I was trying to debunk a lot of that. Like, no, bro, I know what you guys are listening to, but that's not real. That's not real life. These folks, yes, they got to work hard to maintain what they have and to work hard to have those opportunities presented, right? But working hard doesn't mean not being a human being. Working hard doesn't mean not building in rest. Working hard doesn't mean not building in time with family. Working hard it also means, and if you really look at the self-care aspect of it, is not taking home work with you. Think about that. We live in some jobs where some people are tethered to their jobs. When they get home, they're still thinking about work, talking about work, connecting to work, bringing their laptops home, looking at work on their phone, even if they're not required to do so. So if you don't have one of those jobs where you're on call or constantly monitoring situations, right? I can name a few that make it a reality where you have to do that. But for the most part, a lot of jobs, you can step off the door or step on that last step and leave it where it's at. But a lot of people don't do that, especially the super ambitious types, right? They can't leave work where it is. We talk about different ways to recover. I'll tell you what I do. And I never want to project me on you. Everybody's self-care and everybody's recovery is different. What you need to recover may not be the same thing that I need. For some people, it's the littlest things that they need just to recover, right? There's different ways to recover. Macro, micro, I can give you different steps and ways to recover. But the key is, what do you need based on your life today, this week, right now, to recover from everything that's being thrown at you every day of the week? Some people leave their work and they go home and they have family business to take care of, right? So they can't disconnect or unplug. How do you find ways to save energy for those folks? How do you make sure that you're not going home on fumes? And when I say that, if you're listening in, 78.6 FM, Positive Vibes of Winsome, how do you make sure that you're not going home on fumes? Means, how do you make sure that you have reserves, that you've built in time, that you have a plan to go home and love on those that love you? I've heard stories over the last couple of weeks, and some will break your heart. If I had more time, I'd probably break it down. I think I might. But I'll tell you, even one of the folks who I really care about, a young man, there's two this week. I promise you, I can't make this stuff up. There were two incidents this week where I've had to help people balance their thinking and say, breathe. Because you may not realize it, but I'll tell you, from this side of your world, out here, you're winning. But on that side, you're beating yourself up. On that side, you are missing the mark on being grateful for what you have. I used the example yesterday to one of my very, very loved teammates, and I said, hey, it's kind of like that meme, right? You have what you love and what's important to you right there. You're holding his hand, but you keep looking back at something that you don't have. And how we out here encouraging others, educating others, and teaching others about the value of gratitude if we haven't learned to be grateful ourselves. It's not about what we don't have. It's appreciating and loving what we do have. And it's not about the fancy things, the toys, the cars, the clothes. It's the people, the relationships, the connections, the opportunities, the considerations, the conversations, the experiences. You see, all of these things, when we wake up and realize that we have a brand new day to do these things, right? That's when you know that you're looking at things the right way. You're looking at things as if it's a blessing. And you guys know one of my favorite quotes is, you can see life in one of two ways: as if nothing is a miracle, or as if everything is a miracle. And I had a brother yesterday, man. It's like, I was like, are you seeing your life the way that the rest of us are? I had to say this. Do you see yourself and your life the way the rest of us do? Because you have inner conflict right now, and it's you versus you. But you're finding a way to project that onto the world and things that are happening, and you're missing it because everybody's rooting for you. Sometimes you have to say those things and remind people. And sometimes you have to remind yourself that really your only competition is you. Usually it's you versus you in some of those thought processes. Usually it's the trauma from the past or things that you've gone through that don't allow you to see what's really in front of you right now, because you're still looking back. And I've been telling you guys this for the 3 years I've been on this show. The only thing that happens when you look back is you keep hurting your neck. So 78.6 FM, Positive Vibes of Winsome. Are you taking care of you? Are you doing those things in your life right now that bring you joy? Are you tethered to your job? Meaning, when you get off work and you're not working, are you living? I told you, talking about the value of your life. Are you valuing the things that are going right in your life? Are you appreciating those things that are happening for you? Or are you so stuck in the things that aren't happening the way that you want them to? Are you one of those people that are frustrated because the things that are not in your control are not going the way that you want them to? Or are you the other person, the other type of person who's saying, I can't control those things, But the things that I do have control over in my life, I'm giving these things everything I have. Because those are the people that live with no regrets. They see life differently. The perspective shifts. Everything changes because they realize that I'm already doing everything I can within my power, the energy I have, the love that I can give, the story that I can tell. I'm telling it. I'm doing it. I'm living it. There's two types of people. Those who are chasing what everybody else has, and those who are appreciating what they've been blessed to have. Gratitude. And I think that word, and I've learned, I didn't realize it until I came back to this job, how not everybody practices gratitude. How not everybody sees the blessings and the lessons. How sometimes you have to remind people, and it's a blessed situation to be able to do so. But sometimes you have to remind people to see the blessings and the lessons. And things are going to be stressful, right? There's going to be things that don't work out the way you want them to. There's going to be times that you're going to be frustrated. But are you learning the lessons? And in between that time, are you taking care of yourself? Give. Yes. Unconditionally. Yes. But when it's time, how are you taking care of you? Winston, you talk about all this stuff, man. You talking about self-care. You talking about all these things. What do you mean, am I taking care of me? It sounds selfish. It sounds like me. Is that what you're talking? No, I am not telling you to be selfish. I am telling you that self-care is not selfish. I am telling you that you have to know, you have to love who you are, be in your own skin, love the things about you that make you special, and then take care of those things. I might come back next week and just do the lesson, the discussion from Dr. Tal Ben Shahar, the happier no matter what discussion, because I think a lot of us going into this new year, we need to focus on our well-being. And when I say that, I'm saying going into the new year, you have to make sure that you're taking care of your spiritual, your physical, your intellectual, your relational, and your emotional well-being. If you're not doing that, if you're not taking care of these things, and you're not taking care of you, I'm gonna break those down next week. I wasn't sure what I was gonna talk about next week, but now I'm positive that's exactly what I'm gonna talk about. And it kind of works out because this would be an opportunity for me to bridge that with the conversation I'm gonna have with a group called Let's Talk About Growth. In this group, Let's Talk About Growth, they asked me to speak, and I think they think I'm gonna speak live, but I'm gonna drop something for them like this. Probably have some videos, some examples for them as well. But in those opportunities, when you're trying to support others, encourage others, educate, encourage, and inspire, you want to make sure that you're giving everything you got. But I'm going to tell you a secret. When I'm not recording, when I'm not in the studio, when I'm not resting, I'm living. And it might drive some others crazy because they haven't figured out that formula yet. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing it. That just means I'm going to keep modeling it. We'll be right back. 78.6 FM Yoma Time, positive vibes with Winsome. We are back. This will be the last segment, guys, and I got to get out your hair, man. No more listening to my voice. Trying to motivate, educate, encourage, and inspire. Man, today we just talked about what's been going on the last couple of weeks. We launched Emotional Intelligence Habits. And if you haven't read the book, I'm just going to say this real quick. So to the 14,000 listening in, so blessed and grateful for this opportunity. And I know coming back into the new year, one of my goals is to connect more to the community when it comes to the language, when it comes to the experiences, really immersing myself, leveling up from what I'm already doing here in Yomatan, right? This village means the world to me. The people are so beautiful, so kind, so special, so inviting and encouraging. I just love being and living here. A lot of folks were like, why didn't you live closer to the base? I'm like, why? I want to live here where I can actually be a part of the community and be appreciated, and appreciate the nature, appreciate the culture, appreciate the conversations, and appreciate the energy. We don't come to these overseas locations to still like hold on to and gravitate towards everything that's Americanized. We want to really embrace the culture. That should be the goal of coming to these locations and living. Being part of the community is more important than anything else while we're here. So I'm blessed to be a part of this community, and I really want to share the concepts. So I'm going to dig deep into those concepts coming back, right, next year. Not just emotional intelligence habits. We'll talk about the anti-fragility, happier no matter what. I'm going to kind of share some of these messages with some of the groups that are asking me to reach out and teach. We talked about launching emotional intelligence habits. I'm gonna get back to that. And if you haven't read the book, if you are intrigued by these things, if you've read Emotional Intelligence, EQ Habits is a pivot from the four categories or four pillars of EQ, right? You got self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, social management, or social regulation, whatever you want to call it. The key is it pivots away from that and starts really talking about how to implement the EQ habits into your life. So if you haven't read the book, it talks about things like leadership, building habits, how long it really truly takes to break bad habits. There's a study done by University College of London that actually tells you it doesn't take 21 days to create new habits. It takes 66 to break bad ones. Really cool information out there in this book. I really had a good time reading it. And I'll tell you, I stuck to one half of the book. There's two halves of this book. The half that I went into is emotional intelligence at work, because of course I'm launching this to our community on the base or bases, right? So emotional intelligence at work, the entire half of that book is just pivots away from the normal EQ message and really focuses on how you can utilize these habits in your life to make you a better person, a more emotionally intelligent person, and different things that you can do to kind of level up. And it really asks some really powerful questions in there. So they say asks some very powerful questions. And the activities that you can pull from this book were just amazing. I really enjoyed it. So I'm not a salesperson by any means, but I will tell you when I find wonderful information that I always feel like it's important to me to share it, right? A lot of people have books they recommend, and I really don't do that often, but that's one of them. Emotional Intelligence Habits goes along with the series of Emotional Intelligence 2.0 and Emotional Intelligence Teams. Emotional Intelligence Habits, great read. So I encourage you to pick it up. 78.6 FM Yomatan. We talked about you. Who are you? Are you valuing who you are? Are you appreciating what you have? Are you being grateful? Are you practicing gratitude? I've been talking to a lot of people who I think going into the season, they don't realize what's right in front of them. They keep peering over. I had one friend yesterday who's looking way, way far in the future and missing out. And I have another friend who keeps looking back in the past and is not paying attention to what's happening in their present, right? Going backwards, another one going forwards. Too much. Bam. Come back. Be present. Be in the moment. Be grateful. Have gratitude. You've been blessed. Guys, when you are in my chair, and I'm watching everybody around me winning, and to see these people who can't get into the headspace of being grateful and being appreciative for what is going right in their life. Man, let me tell you, I do different things, right? So I teach, I coach, I mentor, I facilitate, but one of the things that drives me crazy, and I'm gonna tell you one of the things that drives me bananas, is when I see people that are living and not appreciating what they have. It does. It drives me bananas because I can't force you to see it. And that's something for me, my patience level, that's something for me I need to work on, because when I'm talking to these people, I want to sometimes jump out and be like, do you see what you have? What are you talking about? You want to shake them? Do you understand how blessed you are? Right? And with one of my teammates, I can do that tough love, right? Hey, time out. You focus in the wrong direction. I can do that, but I can't do that with everybody who walks in the door. So for some people, I have to listen. I can't just sit here and project what I'm thinking and feeling off of them. I got to take it in. I got to interpret what they're trying to say. I really have to listen. And then I ask the question that I told you about. Do you want me to listen, or do you want advice? Because they're just the word vomiting and getting things off their chest. I'm there for it. I'm here for it. But if they want advice, then I got to really switch that hat while I'm listening and be like, okay, cool. This is what you said. Let me repeat this back to you. Make sure I'm understanding it correctly. And now that I hear you, let me tell you what I think. That's advice. Let me tell you, based on my experiences, my story, what I've been watching, and everything you said, let me piece all this together to tell you this. And for those two people this week that really opened my eyes to today's show, I want to say thank you, because without you, I wouldn't have had an opportunity or needed this opportunity to tell people going into this season, be grateful for what you have. Appreciate the victories that you've had. Don't get so caught up in the things that did not go right in this year. Focus on the things that are right now in your life. Grow from there. Build from there. Because you've been blessed to still be standing to wake up today, or if it's your evening time, to be up this evening and to have a new day, because a new day means you can be whoever and whatever you choose to be. Only if you see it that way. For the two examples I gave you, stop looking too far in the future and come back and appreciate what's in front of you. Stop looking in the past and getting frustrated what happened back then, and remember, you're still standing and you still have life right here in front of you. Two different conversations, two people, one looking way in the future and he's missing the most important, significant things that are right in front of his face. Another one who's winning and he's so worried about steps or decisions that were made in the past that he can't appreciate the victories. So I'm going to tell you, you have been blessed to have another day. You have been blessed to still be here. Your story is unique, amazing, and appreciate it for what it is. Appreciate the victories and the things that are going right in your life. And don't get stuck on the things that have went wrong or maybe not in your control to be what you want, because you can make your life what you want it to be if you focus on what's in front of you. Be present. Appreciate those things. Practice gratitude. Practice love. Love yourself. Give yourself that energy back that you're giving everybody else throughout the week. Make sure you're pouring into yourself too. Self-care is not selfish. You can't do it. You can't give everybody anything if you have nothing left in you. You hear all these memes. You can't pour from an empty cup. You got to refuel. All these random things you hear throughout the day is all true. You have to give back to you too. I can't love you if I don't know how to love myself. I can't give you advice if I'm not following. I refuse to be a hypocrite. 78.6 FM, positive vibes with Winsome. I'm so grateful for all the things that we've built this year. Can't wait to close out the year. I think next week is my last episode for 2024. And I really appreciate anyone and everyone listening in here in Yoma Time. You are loved, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Positive vibes at Winsome. I'll see you next week.